When you're lying in bed at night, do you ever randomly remember some relatively minor social missteps or poorly chosen words you did/said years earlier? And then beat yourself up over it even though it really wasn't a big deal? If so, what happened? I was visiting my cousin about 4 months ago and we didn't have the same greeting handshake. So it was like that really weird thing with your hands where you end up in some super awkward handshake. Last night I thought about this like 20 minutes and blamed myself. SMH, that was super unnecessary. This is why I can't sleep till the sun comes up. When I was in 5th grade, our teacher said a joke in front of the class and everyone laughed, including myself. After the laughter died down, a girl looked up at me and said, "You have a really damn disgusting laugh, ew." I became so self-conscious about laughter since that specific day, and after years I have trouble actually laughing. My brain kinda made it a habit to just smile or slightly chuckle at something, even if it is really funny. Edit, the girl's last name, when translated from my native language to English, is Cock. Have a nice day. Junior prom, I blurted out during dinner to my date, "I'm so bored," and I have no idea why it came out of my mouth. I'm pretty well mannered and quiet. I forget how I tried to play it off, but I felt so bad. This happened back when I was 6th or 7th grade. Me and a couple of friends were browsing the neighborhood our school was in after the school day was over. We happened on a bus stop with couple of girls seemingly our age. We stopped and tried to chat them up, but their bus came soon after and they had to go. We see their bus stop at a traffic light not 20 meters away and one of us says, "Let's run to the next stop." Nobody thought to ask then what? And off we were, sprinting madly behind the bus. Surprisingly enough, we somehow made it to the next stop just as the bus was arriving. Then the doors opened, the girls sat there giggling and dot, dot, dot. We did nothing. Literally. I even remember it like the bus driver held the doors a bit longer, but I might as well might be imagining it as the memory is so old. We just sat there, trying to catch our breaths as my lungs burned. And then the doors closed and the bus went off to the next stop. And none of us said anything. We just walked it off, went on to the next stupid shit we would do. I don't know about any of the other guys, but this still haunts me as one of the cringiest moments of my life so far. I went through a phase where I scolded people for reading Harry Potter because my parents told me it was evil. Lots of awkward situations because of that. Freshman year of high school. It was one of those days before school starts and you meet your teacher and your parents are there. My teacher was handing me a piece of paper and I didn't see the paper, so I shook his hand. He said "Oh," and my mom said and I panicked and said I just wanted to be polite. So I still want to die when I think of that. I am on the spectrum and have social anxiety. This is me every day. Of course. Fortunately, there's a cure. It's called chronic undersleep. You lose consciousness as soon as your head hits the pillow. Bonus, you will sleepwalk through tomorrow, too. I have ADHD and this is basically my life. If I had $1 for every time I ran my mouth before my brain thought better of it, I wouldn't need to work anymore. And nighttime brain loves to dwell on each and every one. Was talking with a black friend of mine, and we were discussing random haircuts and styles we would get if we were other races. I said I wanted that common look. He thought I said that common look, I meant the rapper. Shaved head with the nice trimmed up goatee. It didn't dawn on me until a week later why he gave me that weird look after I said it. He thought I was saying that common look every black guy has, still makes me twitch every once in a while. I've been overthinking everything I ever said or ever done, and now my brain's so deep in a web that my head has spun. I still think about when I said you too to the delivery man when he said enjoy your pizza. I wish I only did this in bed at night. Reviewing every mistake I've ever made, at least the ones I remember, is a pretty big chunk of my day. In primary school, this girl really looked like my friend from the back. I went up to her, tapped her on the shoulder and said hi, then played it off like I didn't just mistake her for someone else and left. That was probably 23 years ago now. I can't even begin to pinpoint one event. I guess one thing is when I was 11, I asked my teacher if I could go to the bathroom 3 times during class and told me no. And well, sure enough, I couldn't hold it any longer and there's bullying for the next 6 months. Literally shakes me in bed about how I have never felt that low before. Somehow I managed to live through it though lol. We all got flaws. Mine is a bladder that urinates prematurely. I accidentally mixed up an inside joke with the wrong friend group with disastrous results. Friend group number 1, the joke was when someone calls and asks who's all there, we would add Daryl to the list of names. Daryl wasn't a real person. The joke wasn't really funny, and made no sense out of context, but I guess that's why it was an inside joke. Friend group number 2, I was hanging out playing some drinking games with a bunch of people that I hadn't hung out with in a while. It was a kind of get-together to remember a friend that they had who had recently died in a car accident. I didn't know him that well, but I was always down to party. Anyway, the phone rings, and the person who answered started listing off names. Sorting my cards for another round of presidents and assholes, I offhandedly said hey and Daryl. It was the typical record scratch moment where everyone stopped and looked at me. Daryl was the name of the friend who had just died. This happened in 2002 and I still think about it all the time. In 8th grade I farted once, and a few minutes later, someone smelled it and asked who did it. They asked if it was me and I just started crying. I used to be very sensitive and so I thought they were accusing me and felt really bad, so I cried. It's partially because of that I am now much less emotional, and tend to keep my emotions bottled up. Edit, clarified that I bottle up my emotions. I was visiting Portland for a wedding that lined up with my birthday as well. We went out to celebrate and finished the night at a karaoke bar. Realizing I'm too drunk to sing I Pick My Name Is by Eminem as my song to perform. There's 2 versions of that song. One is the original release, the other tamed down, which you most commonly hear today. The woman controlling the music put on the original, and off I went. One of the lines at the end is running over lesbians in a spaceship while they screaming at me, let's just be friends. I finish the song and I'm met by applause from my friends and one other table. The rest of the place is silent. The DJ goes, nice job. Don't know if it was the best choice for Gay Women's Night though. And at that moment I wanted to leave my skin. When I was 12, me and my mate found our favorite English teacher's Facebook account and found out that he was a pretty big alcoholic. My mate told everyone about this and we both got detention the whole week because of it. The worst thing wasn't the detention, it was the fact that the teacher no longer liked us and he put less effort in his class, making us mostly do book work. I was in 5th grade or so and I was sitting in class with a couple classmates. We were talking about Weird Al songs we liked. This one girl asked, have you heard some Weird Al song? And I followed with, have you ever heard I'm So Sick of You? Which I guess they hadn't heard because she looked immediately down at the desk, sort of somber, and the dude did a little, ho ho ooh as if I did a nice burn. I guess they thought I was telling this girl I was so sick of her. I had no clue at the time though, so I just let it ride. Frowns, still feel bad about that one. When I was 11, it was my first day at a new school and all the other students were also new. The maths teacher started our first class by asking each of us about our education background, what school we came from, what they taught in our last year's maths class, etc. Just trying to get a general idea of what kind of students he was dealing with. Thing is, I was so nervous that I spaced out for a bit and got lost in my overthinking mind, so I didn't hear the teacher's questions to my classmates. When it got to my turn, the teacher just said, now tell me about you, assuming I understood what kind of information he was expecting. I just went straight into a monologue that started with, so I was born in the south zone of the city, but my mom decided to move to our current neighborhood a few months after divorcing my dad. and went on and on giving some very specific details about my short life. Everyone had a really confused look on their faces, and as soon as I realized the teacher was also completely lost, I stopped talking and went instantly red. The teacher then said, "That's all really great, but I was only interested in what happened last year, not the last 10, and everyone started laughing. Next day nobody remembered it anymore, but 12 years later it still comes to mind in pretty random moments. Edit, a typo.